Hi, this is Izzy from Psychic Source. I'm here today to talk to you about how you can create your own individual personalized crystal grid. Some of you may have your own crystals. You may be new to this, or others may be pretty expert at it, but have never done a grid. Either way is fine. I'm going to show you lots of different styles and formats, and it's up to you to choose how you want to do it. Let's have some fun. A crystal grid is simply arranging crystals, gemstones, and natural elements to focus their energy and magnify the properties for your highest and best. Some grids, if you've done any research, might appear complicated and require lots of crystals. And if that works for you, great. But you can also start fairly simple. One way, if you don't want to invest a lot, is to download samples from the internet that you can do for free. The Flower of Life is a basic crystal grid, and the Seed of Life is also a very simple, basic crystal grid that can be used for virtually any reason. And these are the two that I'm showing you right now, the Flower of Life crystal grid and the Seed of Life. The Seed of Life is the one that has a few crystals on it. I like to look around for inspiration, you might too, for crystals and for grids, but ultimately I end up trusting myself on what feels right to me. I'm going to show you some of the varieties. I already showed you some that were printed out from the internet. Those are free. You can also get them in wood type form in different sizes, different shapes, different patterns. Again, I go with what resonates with me, or if you find something that you have a call into, I would do that. You can also find them in a fabric format. And I'm going to go into detail today. This is a Metatron's cube. I'm going to show you how to do a chakra crystal grid using this fabric crystal grid. Okay, I'm going to show you the 5 steps when you're creating a crystal grid. The first step is to set an intention. That can be all kinds of things: love, personal growth, intuition, increase your abundance with money, safety when travel. Today, I'm choosing well-being, overall health and well-being. Then you select your layout and shape, and as I showed you briefly before, I'm choosing the cloth grid of the Metatron's cube, and it clearly marks the 7 chakras. The chakra stones are based on energy and intention and color. You may be very familiar with them, and if you're not, you can look a little bit more into them. I chose the stones based on how they resonate with me, but I did write an article to go along with this for Psychic Source where I go into much more detail about what the crystals are and what the other crystals are for each chakra, so you may find that helpful. In general, when you're creating a crystal grid, the key is to place your center stone, which in this example, which shows activation points, this would be clearly where you'd put the center stone. And each of these other points of overlap is where you can put a stone. And you want it to be fairly balanced. And it also shows you that you can put other stones or items in the midpoint of where things are. So that can also be helpful. You can keep them simple, or you can be more complex as time goes. You also don't have to always do it with crystals. You can also do it with natural items, flowers, seashells, or anything else from nature that calls to you. So in this case, for the center stone, one option may have been quartz, clear quartz, because that's a very pure crystal. This is an example of clear quartz, and I like it a lot. But in this particular instance today, what called to me was selenite. And I want you to choose things based on what calls to you. So I'm going a little bit out of order here, and I apologize, but I just want to talk about when you create your own crystal grid, normally you want to do the center stone. Next, you want to do the remaining stones in the order that calls to you. In this case, obviously, since I'm doing the 7 chakras, I'm going to start with the root chakra, and for that I have a smoky quartz. For the sacral chakra, I have carnelian. For the solar plexus, I have citrine. For the heart, I have green adventuring. For the throat, I have sodalite. And for the crown chakra, excuse me, for the brow chakra, the third eye, I have amethyst. And again, for the center stone, I'm choosing to use selenite today because it is, to me, a very purifying stone that pulls things all together. Once you place all of your stones on your grid, you will then want to trust your inner wisdom as to what feels the best to you. But what I didn't mention as you're placing your stones, this is a really good idea. I mentioned it briefly. I said set an intention, and I said well-being. You could also, if you wanted to, write down a more specific intention and on paper and put it under your stone. Feel in your heart and soul what your intention is. I want to increase my well-being. One other thing that I do from time to time is I use additional stones that are not necessarily a part of the grid. I have some stones that feel like they're very good for protection, for grounding, and I will sometimes add those to the grid just because it feels like it's beneficial to me. The other step we need to do, I have a selenite wand that has the crystals on, or excuse me, has the chakras on it, the chakra stones. To activate your grid, once you have it placed and you know your intention is set, I want to start with a central stone and move as if you're drawing a line between the center stone and each one of your stones individually. I can feel this because I'm very in tune with the energy, and every time I'm connecting from the stone to the center stone, I feel it. You may or may not, and that's okay. I also have a preference that I like to go around and connect all of the stones to each other because that feels good to me, and then connect back to the center stone. So that is how you create it in multiple steps. The last one is activation, and after that, it's basically just enjoy it. I like to keep it sitting around for a while because it's convenient for me to leave it in my office. I like selenite so much I sometimes even will keep extra pieces of selenite or clear quartz sitting around because it makes me feel more balanced and it makes me feel good. But again, you don't have to go out and invest a lot in crystals or grids. You can start with the basics. So have fun with this. Track your progress as you go, but I think you're going to find it very enjoyable. Thanks so much for joining me today.